The monitors screamed before anyone did, a thin, frantic sound slicing through the polished silence of the private neonatal wing. In a room built for miracles money could buy, a billionaire's newborn lay wrapped in wires and prayers, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was working. Doctors moved faster, spoke louder, tried harder, and still the baby slipped further away, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, as if life itself were quietly packing its bags. Outside the glass walls, power and privilege waited helplessly. Inside, hope was running out. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us why compassion still matters. The hospital sat on a hill like a palace of white stone and glass, funded by names that opened doors across the world. The billionaire father had built half of it with a single signature, his name engraved on plaques, wings, and donor walls. He was a man used to control, to outcomes bending in his favor, to problems that dissolved under the weight of his wealth. Yet that night, control abandoned him. He stood rigid near the incubator, suit jacket discarded, eyes hollow, watching his child fight a battle that money could not win. His wife had collapsed hours earlier, sedated and surrounded by nurses, her body exhausted after a delivery that had gone wrong in too many ways to count. Their baby had arrived too soon, lungs too fragile, heart too weak, blood refusing to carry oxygen the way it should. The best specialists flew in. The rarest equipment hummed. Protocols were followed to the letter. And still the numbers fell. In the corners of the room, the medical team felt the familiar ache of impending loss, sharpened by the pressure of who this family was. No one said it aloud, but everyone felt it. Failure here would echo beyond these walls. Yet beneath the stress and science, there was another truth, older and crueler. Sometimes the body simply refuses to stay. Down the hall, past the donor portraits and the hushed conference rooms, a nurse named Alina finished cleaning a supply cart. She worked nights because nights paid a little more, and because daytime shifts were harder to get when you came from the wrong neighborhood and wore the wrong assumptions on your skin. She was good at her job, steady hands, sharp instincts, but invisible in a place that celebrated titles more than tenderness. Her badge said neonatal care assistant, not doctor, not specialist. She had learned long ago to keep her head down, to move quietly, to offer help only when asked. Alina had grown up watching life teeter on edges. Her mother had been a midwife in a rural clinic back home, saving babies with little more than towels, patience, and faith. Alina learned early how breath sounded when it struggled, how skin looked when it begged for warmth, how sometimes the smallest adjustments meant the difference between goodbye and tomorrow. She carried those lessons with her, even now, even here, though the hospital preferred machines over memory. As she passed the neonatal wing, she felt it before she heard it, the tension, the way air thickens when hope is thinning. She slowed, eyes drawn to the glass. Inside, the baby's chest fluttered like a trapped bird. The numbers dipped again. A doctor shook his head almost imperceptibly. Alina's stomach tightened. Something about the rhythm felt wrong to her, not in a textbook way, but in the way that made her mother's voice echo in her chest, reminding her that bodies tell stories if you listen closely enough. She hovered at the threshold, torn between training and instinct. She was not invited into this room. She did not belong in decisions of this magnitude. Yet she watched the baby's skin, the faint bluish tinge creeping back despite the oxygen. She noticed the way the tiny body stiffened between breaths, the subtle sign of exhaustion that machines didn't flag. Her mind raced through memories of premature infants wrapped skin to skin, of warmth shared when technology failed, of a risky, almost forgotten practice that required courage more than credentials. Inside the room, time compressed. The lead physician ordered another adjustment. It didn't help. The billionaire father's hands trembled as he pressed them together, a man accustomed to commanding rooms now begging silently to the universe. Alina felt a pull, a weight in her chest that would not let her walk away. She stepped closer, heart pounding, knowing every rule she was about to break. What she did next would later be called unthinkable, reckless, impossible. In the moment, it felt simple. Life was slipping. The baby needed warmth, rhythm, a reminder of how to breathe. Alina moved with purpose, asking for nothing, trusting that the truth of her intention would speak louder than her job title. She prepared herself, aware of the eyes on her, aware of the risk to her career, her dignity, her future. She was a poor black nurse in a room built by billionaires, about to challenge the authority of degrees and decades. She positioned herself near the incubator, hands steady, breath slow. The idea was ancient and radical in a place obsessed with innovation, human contact, skin-to-skin warmth, synchronizing breath with breath. It required removing barriers, trusting biology over bureaucracy. The doctors hesitated, their training screaming caution, liability, protocol. But the monitors continued their downward march, and silence, heavy, final silence, loomed closer. Alina focused on the baby, shutting out the room. She centered herself the way her mother had taught her, grounding breath, calming pulse. When she placed the baby against her chest, it was not dramatic. It was gentle, deliberate, reverent. She became warmth. She became rhythm. She breathed slowly, deeply, letting her body do what it had done for generations before machines learned to beep. At first, nothing happened. Seconds stretched. Then a tiny change. The baby's chest rose a fraction more evenly. The oxygen level steadied, then climbed, barely, like a timid sunrise. The room leaned in. Alina kept breathing, matching her pace to the fragile life pressed against her. She felt the baby respond, as if recognizing something familiar, something safe. Another minute passed. The heart rate steadied. A murmur rippled through the room, disbelief giving way to awe. The doctors watched the monitors, then the baby, then Alina. Science did not disappear, it adapted. Adjustments were made to support what was happening rather than fight it. The billionaire father sank into a chair, tears streaking his face, the first release of emotion he had allowed himself all night. The baby was not saved yet, but the fall had stopped. The cliff edge receded. Hours passed in a suspended state of hope. Alina did not move, did not waver. Her muscles ached, her arms burned, but she stayed. She thought of her mother, of every nameless woman who had held life together with nothing but courage. She thought of how often she had been overlooked, underestimated, reduced. None of that mattered now. Only breath mattered. Only warmth. Only the quiet miracle unfolding against her heart. By dawn, the baby's condition stabilized enough to return to the incubator. The machines took over again, but differently now, as partners rather than masters. The doctors spoke in hushed tones, reviewing data, acknowledging what had happened without yet naming it. The father approached Alina, stopping a respectful distance away, as if afraid to disturb the fragile piece she carried. Gratitude poured from him in a way money never had, raw and humbling. For the first time, he saw not a staff badge, but a human being who had given his child a future. In the days that followed, the story spread quietly at first, then with growing insistence. Some questioned the decision, dissected the risk. Others pointed to the results, the undeniable truth written in rising charts and strengthening cries. The hospital convened meetings, reviewed policies, invited voices that had long been absent from the table. Alina was no longer invisible. She was asked to teach, to share, to help reshape a system that had nearly failed because it forgot the power of human connection. The baby grew stronger. The mother recovered. The billionaire father changed in ways that surprised even him. He funded programs that blended technology with compassion, invested in training that honored traditional knowledge alongside modern medicine. He learned to listen. Alina continued her work, still humble, still steady, but now seen, her value undeniable. She never called herself a hero. She called herself a caregiver. Before we reach the ending, please take a moment to comment below and share what part of this story moved you the most. Your words matter more than you know. In time, the baby went home, wrapped not just in blankets but in a story that would one day be told as a lesson rather than a legend. A lesson about humility, about the limits of wealth, about the courage it takes to act when the rules fail. A lesson about a poor black nurse who trusted her instincts and chose love over fear. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that humanity still has room to grow kinder, please like the video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps stories like this reach others who need hope. The monitors that once screamed now rested silent in memory, replaced by the soft rhythm of a life saved. And in that hospital on a hill, among glass and gold, a quiet truth took root. Sometimes the unthinkable is simply remembering who we are to each other.